Hello, teacher. Welcome back to our training session. For today's session, we are going to talk about schema. Have you ever heard of this word,
Well,
schema?
yes, I've heard about it during my one of the master classes that I attended.
Okay, so what is your understanding of it?
Well, what I understand about it is that schema is um, your your background knowledge about something,
Mm-hmm.
and you're trying to connect it with what you know. We usually use schema in inferring and predicting.
Very
Yeah.
good. Exactly. Okay, that's right. So, in psychology, um, it refers to how information is organized, and it focuses on how the human mind does it. So, yeah, like what you said, schema is understanding something based on what we know. So a schema could be it's not universal in a way because everyone has their own experience in life. So new information for me may be perceived quickly or
Mhm.
differently on how you can perceive something because of so many factors, right?
Right.
And in a way, this can also be applied to our students through schema theory because we are teaching, because all students have different backgrounds. So, in a way, you're personalizing how they learn information based on what they already know, or at least what you think they know. Okay. So,
Okay.
it's a framework, cognitive framework that helps organize or interpret information, like what you said, for inferencing and ano pa ba isa? Yeah,
Predicting.
predicting. So we use
Yeah.
schemas because they allow us to take shortcuts in interpreting the vast amount of information that is available in an environment. So um, schema can be seen in so many ways. I mean, in so many parts of aspects of our lives. Let's see some types of schemas. There's what we call person schemas. So this is us talking about appearance, personality, preferences, and behavior. So these things are factors that we can
Mhm.
use to maybe assess a person, right, or
Mhm.
an individual. Now, there's also a schema for how you see yourself. So what do you think you like, and what do you think you can do or you hate? And then social schemas are, how you communicate with other people. While event is how you interact in a, let's say something is happening in your life, or in this case professionalism, portfolio, and stuff like that. Okay, so we're not going to talk about specifically the schema, but instead we're going to talk about schema theory, which is mostly about how we retain or gather information. Okay, so yeah, like what you said, this is the basic format. Since not everyone who will watch the video will have an understanding, let's go back to the very basic. Okay,
Mhm.
so
Okay.
schema theory is this way. So a student will sense, or a person will sense something using the five senses, right?
Mhm.
And upon doing that, they will, of course, pay attention to that. They will use um, maybe their organs to check or to um, just receive that information. So, if they see an animal, you will look at it, or maybe you will listen to it, right? If you hear
Mhm.
a sound, then you will pay attention by listening to that sound. Or if there's something that um, you can touch, then you feel it, and then you know. But for now, you're gonna use those things, and you will, if there's something new, you use your senses to receive it. Okay. Upon doing
Okay.
that, you will now recall information from your memory. So, for example, in this example that we have here, it's a dog. So, if you see this animal, automatically you would think of dogs, right?
Right.
You would think of it's an animal. It has
Mhm.
rabies or it bites. Those things, right? So you recall information based on what you remember. And I think we do this every day. It's just that it's something sometimes that too fast that we don't really even think about it. Okay.
Yes.
And then after that, we activate the adequate schema. Ayun na yun. So, if you see the photo, parang there are some sorts of connection with other, let's say, animals, di ba? In this sense. So, dog, this is a dog. It's an animal, but yeah, I know now this is a dog. Okay. And then after that, you respond. So, after you activate your schema, like, oh, I already identify what this is, you now do the response. So, what's the response? It's you can now imagine or maybe picture in your mind how this person or how the animal would react. So in this case, ayun na, alam mo na, since you already know that this is a dog, you now know that it barks, and then you connect it with all other sort of things. So parang in your
Yes.
brain, the neurons and the connections are
Mhm.
being connected. Yung parang nag-activate na siya. Okay, so dog.
Mhm.
I know it runs. I know that it likes dog food. No, no, no. So there, you created the information in your head because you use your senses, and then you recall from your memory, and then maybe by comparison with other things, you identify what that is. So yun nga. So it can be applied not just um, in this sense, but also in student learning. So how are we gonna apply schema theory to a student who has weaknesses, diba? Okay, so
Mhm.
sige, let's try to come up with a problem, and let's see how the schema theory can be applied to this problem.
Okay.
Okay, sige, let's see. I'm thinking out. Okay, what if the student's problem is it doesn't know how to read, or
Mhm.
maybe it does, he does, but it's just like there's no effort at all. So how do you think we can connect schema to that? I'm thinking
Mhm.
maybe it could be because they don't understand a specific word, or maybe lack of interest, right?
Mhm.
So
Right.
we what we do is we try to trigger their schema by introducing some other maybe concepts or some other words that will make them interested in that. So um, for example, there's a word that the student doesn't know, maybe because they just have no idea. So if you can connect that word to something that they already know, and maybe they are interested in, maybe they will be able to understand it. They'll be able to retain that information, and in the long run, they will understand it. So, sige, let's try. Parang kasing it's too complicated for it, but let's say the word
Mhm.
that we're looking for is how can we use schema so that they can retain our information? Maybe the word we're looking for is science based. Let's say terraforming. Okay, so you
Okay.
introduce that to them. There's no interest simply because their schema is not activated. Parang okay, I don't understand because I can I can understand it. There's no way to associate it. Okay,
Mhm.
so what we do is we introduce the concept to the student by giving them information that they can easily absorb. So it could be in the form of, let's say, a video explaining what terraforming is. It could be a photo showing what terraforming is. Okay. So what they do is once they see that, they will now use their senses. Okay. So they will look. Maybe they will see exactly what it is, and then they pay attention. So basically, that's what they're doing. Now they will try to recall information based on what they know. So yun yung importance nung we understand what the student's background is. Okay.
Okay.
So let's try. For example, terraforming. Let's show a photo of terraforming. Okay, so this one. Yeah, actually, there's this photo. You can show the student, oh, this is terraforming. So if you look at it, you would just think, oh, there are four planets. Parang ganun. So they just use their sense to look at it, and that's what they know. They know that, oh, if they pay attention to that, they will just see four planets physically, right? That's what they see.
Yeah.
Now, um, they need to now recall information. So, oh, this looks like Mars, diba? But you can guide them as well. This looks like Mars, and this looks like Earth, and it seems like they are transitioning. There's something in between, and this looks like this one, but also this one, and this looks like this one, but also this one. So maybe from here they will now start to recall what they know about Mars. Oh, what I know about Mars is that Mars is a dead planet. It doesn't have water. It doesn't have plants. It's just plain desert without anybody there. Parang ganon. So ngayon na nag-activate na yung schema ni child na, okay, yung nako-compare
Mhm.
niya sa ibang ano. And then, they will also activate their understanding of Earth. Oh, okay. So, what you can do is, you, as a teacher, you can help them verbalize this. Parang hindi yung automatic lang sa utak na nila nagpa-process. You can ask
Okay.
them questions, guide questions. What do you think is happening? Or can you describe the differences between the first and the second one, the second and the third, and so on? In a way, you are helping them recall information. Or maybe you can guide them, like, what planet do you think this looks like? And what planet do you think this looks like? Parang ganun. So, nagkakaroon siya ngayon ng nire-recall niya, oh, this looks like Earth. Now, uh, since they are activating the schema, they now have to respond in a way na parang, what action do you think happened so that, from here it became like this? So, so magkakaroon na siya ng idea na, I think we are changing Mars to become like Earth with water
Mhm.
and plants. So if they do that kind of judgment, parang, oh, okay. So what do you think then is terraforming? And then they would say, oh, terraforming, I think, is the process of changing one dead planet to something that looks like Earth, that's livable. So parang, ayun, alam mo yun? So parang yun yung schema. Based on what they know, they just connect the dots and link it just like this. And from there, they can get definition. So parang doon mo siya mako-connect into education. Na parang, if the student's problem is vocabulary, it's hard for them
Mhm.
to understand. We need to activate schema by helping them remember some things that they already know, right? So
Okay.
pwede rin siguro in a form of analogy, like,
Mhm.
that's why you need to know what they know. You need to know their background. So if they
Mhm.
say, oh, they like, it's really hard to do it, but it takes practice to try to link some things that they like. So for example, the student likes baking. Kunyari, sabi niya, baker daw siya. So how are you gonna connect terraforming to that? Parang hindi naman, diba? Pero if you think about it, when we say terraforming, there's a change, diba? It changed from this to this. So maybe you can
Mhm.
tell the student, like, when you cook a cake, at first it will be like this. You cannot eat it yet, and then something will happen to it. People like you will work on the cake, will cook it, will help it become something like Earth, which is the final product. So parang, in a way, kahit wala siya, let's say, background in Mars or Earth, na, 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 na associate niya yung yung pattern based dun sa something that he or she already knows. Right?
Okay.
So basically, yun lang naman yung schema. Kasi for us adults, when we read the meaning of it, we already know what it is. Na parang, okay, it's just absorbing or learning new information based on what I already know. Diba? Kasi if we don't retain information based on our memory, everything is brand new for us. Diba? If
Yes.
you see a dog and then kinagat ka, ay, nangangagat pala yun. Diba? Tapos sa susunod na nakita mo siya, hindi mo na naman naalala, hindi mo pinagana yung schema mo, hinawakan mo na naman, ay, kinagat ulit ako, kinagat ako. So, hindi siya nag-activate. So, that's why schema is important, because this is yung retention. This is the retention of information. If they will not apply the schema, then basically, wala. Pero it's naturally occurring, diba?
Mhm.
But the problem is, what information does the student wants to absorb, diba? What first does the student want to absorb? Like sometimes some topics are too boring, or some topics are
Yes.
too maybe too difficult for them to understand. So it's important to associate based on their interest. Doon
Oh,
papasok ngayon yung memory palace maybe, or we have different kinds of um, different techniques in trying to remember something. Again,
okay.
if there's nothing to recall, you see, schema theory is more on recalling information, diba? If
Yes.
there's nothing to recall, wala ka din siyang, hindi niya mapa-follow yung flow nito because wala naman siyang information na huhugutin eh. Like,
Mm-hmm.
ako yun yung naging issue ko ngayon sa class ko, for example, taking AI. So, I have no background. So,
Mm-hmm.
the subject is really difficult for me. Like, everything is jargon to me during class. I don't really understand anything because of that thing. But what I do in order for me to catch up is I study on my own. So whatever words I don't understand, I try to Google it, and then whenever I see the examples or I see the definition, dun pumapasok yung schema theory because I can associate it with something that I know really well with other things. Na parang, okay, ganun pala siya. Okay, I get it now. So, nagkakaroon siya ng analogy in my head. So, yun. Parang na-activate din yung schema theory in that sense. Okay?
So, pwede po ito, teacher, in just like in what you're experiencing right now, na
Mm-hmm.
the lessons that you're taking
Mm-hmm.
are new to you,
Yes.
so you're trying to learn it on your own. Can so I can also use this to my current students, right?
Yes, of course. Definitely.
Okay.
So, but it will still depend on what kind of things the student is having difficulty with because sometimes it's not the topic that they're having difficulty with. Maybe the student is having difficulty with, let's say, ano ba, reading, di ba? Reading,
Mm-hmm.
if a student doesn't know how to read, for example, like what you showed me earlier, the student cannot write or maybe remember B and
D.
D.
Yes.
So what you can do is in a way maybe you can use parang it's too simple naman to use pa his schema theory, di ba? Pero
Mm-hmm.
pero in a way maybe like well, because you can just use something associated with something they know which is the Korean letter. So if you can write the
Okay.
Korean letter and then Korean letter D B, eh madali na lang for them. Hindi na kailangan ng science for it. But if you just want to apply that to it, there are many ways to do that. Okay. Sige, let's see. Maybe letter B, ano bang pwedeng i-associate ni student sa letter B? So, ang pwede mong gawin is, alam mo yung sa mga students, mga children, like learning phonics.
Yes.
Sometimes, the letter has an associated, yan yung image eh. So,
Mm-hmm.
maybe, this can help the student. Pero, let's use something that's, meron yan eh, yung mismong letter, ginawa niyang ganun. Hindi kasi to
Ay,
parang more on ano lang.
yung parang ano po, yung ginawa niyang object talaga yung
Oo.
letter.
Di ba may ganun? So, hanap tayo. Baka
Apo,
meron.
meron.
Oh, ito. Actually, ito. Paano ba to?
Okay.
Ayan. B comes
For
first.
B and D.
So, B, bat, D. Di ba? Pwedeng and then comes first. So, parang ginawa niya ng association. Ito daw is B. So, bat.
Mm-hmm.
And then, ball. Di ba? Parang dinowing niya. Merong
Mm-hmm.
bat. So, parang it's schema in a way because if the student doesn't know the letter B, they can associate it to something they already know. So,
Okay.
ganun pala yun. B looks like a bat with a ball next to it.
Mm-hmm.
Diba? Pero, ganun din naman yung, ano,
Opo.
diba? So, parang
Ganon din
baka
naman yung D.
malilito siya. Siguro, hanap tayo ng mas, wala na ba dito? Kasi,
Nakakatuwa lang po siya kasi kahapon, yan yung inaral namin kasi So, nalilito nga siya sa B at saka sa D.
Mm-mm.
Pero nung sinulat niya, tas inikot niya yung note, yung librong ginagamit namin, sabi niya, sinabi naman niya na, this is P and Q. So, alam niya.
Oo, alam niya. Hindi lang niya maalala. Nalilito lang siya.
Opo, nalilito lang siya talaga.
Oh, sige. Parang ang baby pa ng estudyante mo yun. No? Kasi parang ang basic ng issue niya. Pero anyway,
Opo.
sige. Hanap tayo ng ginawang
I think yun din
character.
po yung nagiging reason kung bakit ayaw niya mag-aral. Kasi, if I'm not mistaken, ngayon lang siya nag-aral dito.
So new student. Okay.
Opo.
Siguro try to, ang gawin mo dyan, teacher, go for, you have to know what the student's likes are. So, if the student, for example, likes mga, minsan may mga ganyan anime or siguro may niche
Mm.
siya sa, i-try mong i-associate yung everything that you will teach to that kasi they will retain so many things. Okay, let's see.
Mm.
Tingnan na natin. Phonics. Wala ba? Wala kasi akong makita eh. Pero baka
Parang
yun.
sa Facebook ko yung nakita eh.
Oo, naging shape ng B yung ano, pag
Opo,
dinowing.
opo. Ah,
So anyway,
I think yung bird, yeah.
alam ko na. Alam mo yung boy, yung ginagawang tao yung boy.
Ay, opo, opo, opo.
Siguro drawingan mo siya ng boy. Pag ginawin mo tong boy, magiging boy. Kasi all you need to do is to use one. Kasi if the student already knows what B is, automatic, alam na niya kung ano yung B. So,
Okay.
maybe you can draw a boy. Kasi mali siya mag-drawing, di ba? So,
Mm-hmm.
siguro matutuwa siya na, oh, yung boy, pwedeng maging totoong boy. Tapos yun, maaalala na
Mm-hmm.
niya na, okay, B is like this. So, baka makatulong. You can try that,
Opo.
okay?
Okay, sige po.
So, in a way,
I'll try that later.
ayan. So, in a way, ayun na yung schema theory. So, ayun lang naman yung basic concept of schema theory sa ICANN. It's like, um, personalizing the class to help the students retain information based on what we know about them or what we think we know that they know.
Mm-hmm.
Diba? So kasi nga, sabi ko sa'yo, hindi siya generic na mag-a-apply lahat ng bagay for students. So you need to consider, like those things like background and then how much
Yeah.
information. Minsan tayo
Okay.
rin yung mag-a-adjust as teachers. Kasi minsan, yung iba kong estudyante, kaya naman yun. Yun yung problema sa education system ng buong mundo na parang everything
Yeah.
is more on memorization that we don't consider the skills of individual students. Na parang everyone is treated the same if they are the same age. Diba?
Yes.
Like grade 4 students, all grade 4 students should know this. Pero hindi nila consider na everyone has different
Yes.
utak ng level. Different ng way of learning. Diba?
Mm-hmm.
Different way. So, kung sino man yung taong nakapattern yung learning style niya dun sa curriculum. Like, for example, ang curriculum is more on memorization. Yun yung mga taong nag-excel sa class, di ba?
Yes.
But at the same time, hindi rin naman guaranteed yun na in real. Kaya nga minsan yung mga matatalino sa school, yun yung parang mga in real life. Di ba?
Yes.
Walang common sense or alam mo yun parang
Wala. Wala nga.
Emotional, di ba? Ako yun yung observation ko na parang if you're good academically, it doesn't translate na you are good in real life. Meron kang wala kang diskarte o ganun.
Usually, yung mga estudyante na gano'n, socially awkward.
Socially awkward. Yeah, lalo yung mga super genius na, no? Yung, alam mo yun, hindi sila marunong makipag-socialize with other people. Because, ayun nga, based on what they know and what they experience. So yun. So as for me, schema theory is a way of personalizing your classes to match the knowledge of your student. So hindi naman lahat sabay-sabay ng alam mo yun, ng pick up. So
well, in the way naman po, it's kind of good for me that dalawa lang sila tas magkahiwalay sila ng session.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah. But yun lang na I think I'm still coping with with your system here. Kaya medyo nag-struggle ako ng konti.
So whatever you're having trouble with, I suggest na alam mo yun, parang let us know agad. Okay? like what you're doing. So that's a good way. Kasi parang ako rin naman, hindi ko rin naman sure na even though I've been teaching there na, alam mo yun, kaya
Mm.
kong ma-tame si student eh. Kasi at the end of the day, it's still the differences of the student that will drive the class. Pero it doesn't mean na you don't have the power. Of course, you do have as you are the teacher. Pero ang maganda dyan, nagsisimula pa lang kayo, parang don't let the student be comfortable in doing things na mali. Kasi, hindi na niya makokontrol siya din. So, ano hindi ko naman sinasabi na you have to have strong personality. Hindi naman ganun. So, parang, ang pinaka-technique talaga to become okay with the student is befriend them. Pero at the same time, you have to set the boundaries na you are the teacher. Diba? So, parang meron pa
Okay.
rin siyang takot. Most of
Okay.
the students na natandaan ko na I don't really, I couldn't, I couldn't manage
Mm.
were the ones with, like, nasanay na sila because of other teachers. Na ganun yung naging sistema. So,
Mm.
if mostly those are the most difficult students. Yung parang naging normal for them to act this way because other teachers accept it. It's okay. Okay.
Okay.
So pag may ganung attitude si student, you can always inform the parents, inform the leadership, and then from there we can see what will work for the student. Uh, ngayon output-based kasi ang gusto nila. So, the pressure is producing an output, di ba?
Yes.
So if that's the case, maybe what you can do is focus on the output, di ba? Eh kung ganun siya kabagal gumawa, edi dapat ngayon pa lang gumagawa na siya. Parang ganun.
Mm.
Which is, ang issue nga is, like, for example, if a student is not doing anything. So,
Mm.
parang targetin mo pa konti-konti until marating mo yung goal. So, if the goal is to create an output, edi gagawa tayong output. If the student doesn't want to do the output, anong reason? You have to find out. The student doesn't want to read, kunyari. Oh, so bakit ayaw niya mag-read? Kasi kunyari, ang reason is pagod siya, wala tayong magagawa doon. You have to address it by talking to the parents na, eto, pagod kasi siya, hindi siya nakapag-focus, nahihirapan siya. Okay?
Mm.
Baka pwedeng um, i-modify natin yung curriculum niya or bawasan natin yung load niya. Ganun. Minsan naman yung parents na intindihan. Or
Okay.
if the problem of the student is like what you said, na-frustrate siya because some letters he cannot read properly,
Mm-hmm.
bigyan mo siya ng reminder or i-feed mo sa kanya. Spoon feed mo, whatever it is. Pwede ka naman mag-paste sa wall ng information. And then, they can look at it. And eventually, they learn from you. Tapos, ayun lang. So, parang we will try to connect until we get the right information that we need.
Teacher, another question po. Regarding the weekly quiz.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Can it be in the form of a video or something?
Like, they will make their own video.
Yeah, parang yeah, parang ganun po na
Yeah, it's possible. If it's doable naman, like what I said, the exam, we have no rules naman. Actually, what we're teaching or telling you are merely guides. It's just that, siguro yung ang pressure lang doon is the parents are expecting that those things are somehow applied, di ba, in classes. Ngayon, when it comes to the exam, wala naman ding rule na dapat ganito yung exam. For as long as magigradean mo siya ng adequately, like 50 points. Sapat ba yun sa video? Makukuha mo ba in a week yung lessons in the video? Di ba? So, paano mo siya gagawin?
okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, it's still up to
Yeah.
you. Pero I go for, kunyari, if the student is visual, then make them draw diagrams. Maybe that will help. Yung mga Venn diagram or
Mhm.
merong mga circles, tas you connect, tas sila yung mag-fill out kung ano yung naman, ganun. Alam mo yun, you try to see what the student works for the student. And how will you do that? There are many activities sa book. That's why some books have different kinds of activities, di ba? Tas check
Yes.
mo, ano yung parang, oh, the student likes this kind of activity na parang, whenever this is the activity, wala akong issue sa kanya. Kasi ako, based on experience, like, I do TED every day. every night. And then what we do is we have a different you're doing that as well. Every day iba-iba yung activity namin. I noticed that the most difficult thing for them is writing. Pag
Yes.
writing na umaabot ng 2 days yan. Wala naman ako magagawa eh. Hindi naman natin pwedeng madaliin. So,
Mm.
as what I do is I just adjust the other things. Like maybe yung watching clips or brainstorming, hindi na masyadong ganun karami. Kasi somehow meron naman silang, yan, schema theory. They already know. They can already associate it with other things they know. So, end of the day, hindi pa rin naman perfect yung time allotment eh. Hindi talaga siya. It's just a guide. Pero if the student is slow in writing, then give them another day, maybe 3 hours, di ba? Maybe the
Okay.
third day, matapos na yun. Tapos, yung ibang bagay, yung mag-adjust. Pero you have to check also, ano yung bagay na, parang, siguro yung pressure sa'yo is dapat ganung araw tapos na tayo sa ganito, di ba? Hindi naman.
Mm.
Uh, I'm sure there are other things that can be finished. Like, maybe, yung ibang students ko kasi, may student ako ang bagay magsulat. Pero pagdating ng presentation, ang bilis, ang galing niya mag-present. He doesn't even need to memorize. Walang ganun. As in, yung sinulat niya, wala nang practice eh. Ilarun lang namin yung slide. O ano sasabihin mo dito, sasabihin namin. Okay, let's record now. Okay, sure. Tapos ready na siya. Tapos isang take lang. Tapos yun. So, yun na yun. Tapos may ibang student na ang baling magsulat, but when it comes to presenting, hindi. So, you need to adjust based on what you think the student really like. So, for the exam, similarly, if the student likes to draw maybe or write, then you can focus on that aspect, and
Okay.
hopefully it will work.
Yung po bang sa TED, need din ng weekly quiz or something?
Not really, hindi siya kailangan because the output is the video,
The talk, yung ganun po.
the
Yung
talk,
presentation.
the presentation. Medyo demanding kasi siya, so hindi mo naman siya kailangan ng quiz. Siguro, what you can consider as quiz is yung worksheet niya in the morning.
Okay.
Yeah, in the
So
morning,
I
on the first day.
I can, because um I was I asked Miss Gemma
Mm.
nung nakaraan po if I can maybe ask my student to watch a video every day and na magre-react siya yung sa worksheet. And she told me na baka hindi rin kasi baka hindi magustuhan nila, sir.
Yung ganun.
So,
What?
tapos nung
Uh-huh.
kahapon, sabi naman ni sir na kailangang i-bombard mo siya ngayon ng inang info para um, ano yung parang mas stress, parang mas stress daw siya ng gusto ngayon. And then just parang after pag nasanay na siya,
Tsaka
tsaka
na.
mo gaangan yung
Um,
workload niya.
so, ganun yung approach ni
Yeah.
Sir. O sige, pwede naman. If you think, kung sinabi naman ni Sir, like what I said, hindi naman natin talaga mafa-follow agad. Pero, like what I said, it depends on the student. So, if that's the approach that will work, kung kailangan niya mag-practice everyday a particular skill para magawa niya yung, for example, yung worksheet niya para matapos niya, then do it every day until such time, di ba? Tapos, just, basta output, parang output based yung dating. Try to extract something from the student. It could be yun yung worksheet. Tapos, i-compile mo yun. Siguro, end of the week, i-compile mo siya. Tapos, pakita mo, so, ito yung output niya. Tapos, ang gawin mo dyan, teach, mag-work siguro yung isi-encircle mo. Na-notice mo to, sir, ganito. Ito yung items na, o ito yung mga mali niya. So, parang, ang napansin ko sa mga papers na to, alam mo parang ang detective. Pansin mo, sir, parang lahat ng paper niya, ang pinaka-issue niya is parang background knowledge. Just an example, the student doesn't have enough foundation to present something. Kasi the student can write properly, grammar, ganyan. Ano yun, parang, I mean, there's no right or wrong answer. But like what I said, it's the assessment is yours to make.
Yes.
Diba? Whatever you say is what is true. Kasi you are the teacher. Parang, so, yeah, like what I said, don't put the pressure on you. What you see is what you see. And, yeah, you don't need to come up with something, or something complicated. Just be direct to the point, whatever you think the problem is.
One thing pa po na na-notice ko do'n sa TED student, ano, ayaw niya magsulat in English agad. Yung
Mm,
kailangan tina-translate niya. So sabi ko sa kanya, and that's one reason why you're finding it difficult to write an essay because you think in it's
Korean.
you think in Korean, you write in Korean, and then you translate it into English. You should think in English from the very start.
Okay.
Eh, ang kaso pag nag-research siya, Korean din.
Oo
Pag
nga,
gusto niya yung videos niya in Korean. So, yun.
parang hindi na. Okay, ganito gawin mo, teacher. Well, for now, kasi yun yung technique niya. What I advise pag ganyan yung student is I will allow them to use Korean, but outline lang, keywords.
Mhm.
So, um, siguro, okay. Sige, later, I'm gonna teach you something that can help in the TED
Okay.
class, okay? Ito ginagamit din namin to for it. Okay, sige, for now, we're gonna finish the schema theory. So that
Okay.
basically that's all there is. It's a very simple concept that can be
Yes.
applied everywhere.